Hello and welcome. On September 2nd, 2023, Pete Homer, Natty Homer, and Zoe Homer, and your friend and mine, Jam Mandala, sat down with Tom Lopez, the genius writer, producer, and director behind the Fourth Tower of Inverness, Moon Over Morocco, Jack Flanders Adventures, and other radio plays that have inspired us since the early days of the peace and love movement. Mr. Lopez was gracious enough to set us down in his beautiful mansion on the Hudson River and delighted us for 3 hours with great tales from his life. Thank you, Tom. It was a wonderful experience, and I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for tuning in and listening to this excellent retrospective by Mr. Tom Lopez. Enjoy.
Technical and stuff.
He's getting weird.
Again.
Because of, and Yoko's the only thing happening in London at the time, and it wasn't my opinion. It was just other people that showed up was saying that it was winter time, and so she was able to raise money to then do a regular. She wanted to do a documentary. Now, and this was the Catholic Church was giving to the Greek Orthodox Church a thigh bone from, I think, the Saint Augustine was his name.
Okay.
And I'm not quite sure. It could be. It doesn't matter. And so we flew to Venice, and because it was in St. Mark's Cathedral, and they had a separate room just for the saint, and they had the thigh bone there.
Wow.
And so it was a big event in terms of because the Catholic Church, the Greek Orthodox and the Catholic were never this, quite different.
Sure.
They did come to whatever the compromise was. Catholics have sculptures, Greeks do not. They have icons. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So they wanted me to do the sound for the film, and Tony decided he would do the filming, even though he didn't know zilch about filming.
Okay.
Talk about cameras with a big bag you put your head in, 16 millimeter rolls of film. All of that stuff.
Sure.
And so I got to travel around, and then from Venice, from Italy, Venice, we went to Greece because the boat was traveling on one of these cruise liners along with the Greek Orthodox priests. It was a big event.
Wow, yeah.
Does the thigh bone get its own room again?
And then we ended up in Chios, which is a little island off the Turkish coast. Chios is a Greek island, and of which has a long history of battles with both Greece and Turkey as to who owns the island.
Oh yeah, Cyprus and all
so
that
you
too.
go in the church and there's just stacks and stacks of skulls. Oh yeah, sort of behind glass, that kind of thing.
Wow.
But everyone in Chios is a small island. Was very friendly and nice, and
Yeah.
And so, meanwhile, Yoko and Tony were constantly arguing. So Tony would say, we got to get up at 6 in.the.morning to record. He said, I want to be able to, not to record, to film. I want to be able to.
The light.
And I said, okay. So I'd get up. They'd still be asleep. I'd bang on the door, and they'd say, come back in an hour.
Yeah.
And then I was like, bang on the door again. Come back in an hour. Come back in an hour.
Yeah.
And this was in Athens. Yeah, this week arrived, and the problem was that at noon or 1 or 2, they'd finally get out to do some, so it went on like that for days. And we arrived a month after there was a coup in Greece. And the military took over, and they were in power for a few years.
Wow.
But it was, and so you had the military driving all around.
Wow.
But it was funny because they would be in their jeeps and so on, and they didn't look a threat at all. They looked like a bunch of soldiers who were kind of unruly and so on. And anyway, so I make it very short, but I would wander about in the morning knowing we're never going to get out, and I would record goats or whatever, whatever I could find.
Yeah, because you had hours and hours before they got out.
We were living out on the outskirts of something, and I remember the wandering into some big villa area, but they apparently had taken over because I looked, oh my God, this is military.
Yeah.
Meaning you could see somebody rich probably represented the other side. And now
They were ousted from their house.
And so I started to get out of there, and I hear this stop, or whatever it was. Equivalent was, and there was somebody there pointing a gun at me.
Wow.
And I've got my recorder, and so they always gesture. They don't walk up to you. You come to them. This has happened to me a few times, by the way.
Really?
Having guns pointed at me because I'm recording.
Yeah.
And sometimes I had shotgun mics, which are long.
Yeah.
And anyway, and I'm only telling this because it was a funny thing that happened. And when he came up to me, he's a young guy, he's a soldier, and he speaks only Greek, and so I don't know what he's saying, except you get the idea.
Yeah.
Don't move. Don't do anything.
Yeah.
Well, he decides what he's going to do.
Barrel pointed at you.
He points at my hair. Now, my hair is long in the sense it's probably no longer than this. Meaning it touched the ears at that point. But he says, Beatles. He points I said, meaning,
prophetic.
I knew the Beatles. And then he starts singing A Hard Day's Night in English.
No kidding.
So I sort of joined in, and then he waves for me.
Surreal.
Anything to get this gun away from me.
Yeah.
Which I finally put some gun down.
Start singing Hard Day's Night.
He sees I'm not as right. So anyway, but it was what actually happened then on the way back after whatever we were there, I don't know, a couple weeks maybe, I'm not sure. But because they were traveling first class, Tony, Yoko, and I was too, that she or he free booze, drank and got drunk and they refused to leave the plane when we parked in where the heck was it? I can't remember, one of the foreign cities, and meanwhile all our equipment, which we had a lot of, was spinning around and somebody took my suitcase, which happened to have all my mics and all the sound I had recorded. So there was no sound for the films.
Oh man.
Was this early on in the trip or later?
This happened on the way back.
Oh god.
Oh man, you lost all your recordings?
Huh?
Lost all your recordings?
No, I had my recorder with me. I had the recorder with me.
Okay.
And it came with a microphone, had a microphone and so on. And so that was the only thing. And the other things were just other mics that I had rented. But they handled it very well. It was rented to London, and they handled it well. They were insured and everything.
Oh, good.
But so
you couldn't get your recordings back though. No.
A film never happened.
I'd be devastated if that happened.
When they wanted to send me back again, but then the people that backed them money wise looked at the film. Tony had shot and said, "This is terrible." It wasn't even focused. It was just, it was like he didn't know, and he didn't know what he was doing, And I mean, he was basically a bit of a con man. Even Yoko admitted it. usually. And so at the point, and I left London at the point that she had met John, so I never met
Oh,
John.
yeah.
Yeah.
Not in that time. You didn't.
Yeah.
You didn't mean.
And I know everyone, or a lot of people felt that she was sort of instrumental in breaking up the Beatles, and I suspect she was.
You think so? You knew her, so.
In a sense, yeah. I mean, because she tends to get what she wants. You know,
That's what I've heard.
You do not cross Yoko.
Yeah.
I will keep that in mind.
Yeah.
It was very funny in the early, I think it was about 2001, because the other day I was telling someone about this. About 2001, I'm in the back office, the phone rings, it picks up, and it's Yoko. Now, I hadn't heard Yoko since I left London back in, whenever that was, the 60s, you know. And the first words out of my mouth, honest to God, because, you know, I said, what do you want? I knew she wanted something. It was so funny. Yoko calls and you say, what do you want?
You do her that.
And she sort of stammered, and then she said, no, I just wonder you're coming down to New York, and if I'd like to see you,
Nice.
Dakota and all that. And
Nice.
so there was a conference, radio conference going on, and so I went down there and saw her and spent the afternoon with her, and it was nice.
Yeah.
And finally, she got around to what she wanted.
Okay, because
She wanted to know if I had some other recordings of her but I had given them to Tony, and I didn't have them. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.